AMC has blown by this descending range, guys, getting above and over that $324 level, gapping up, and we continue to see nice bullish price action. Sellers try to push us back down, but are buyers going to continue our run up? And is it likely that we see that $4 level soon, or are the sellers going to step in here, guys, and start to push us back down? Now, starting this analysis on the weekly time frame, guys, AMC is definitely one of those stocks that are very prone to these huge moves up as well as these huge moves down, and it's a very beat up stock overall, but we have seen some increasingly promising price action over these more recent days, guys, as getting us in this more recent formation, we saw that huge leg down trending all the way down to that 2.30 dollar level, guys. So we see just such a drastic sell-off, but then buyers find the steam, and this just shows how volatile and crazy the stock can be, because we go from that 238 level all the way to that $11.87 level. We nearly fully reject, but we get in this consolidation zone, holding slightly higher, trading between that psychological $5 and $4 level. So we're chopping here for some weeks. It's a lot of time, as all of these candles are 1 week. So keep that in mind. It's a lot of time of price action kind of chopping between those two ranges. Then we see a descending profile start to form. So we come back down to that floor. We double bottom, right? One bottom here and one bottom there. So we double bottom, guys, and that's where we see this ascending profile start to occur. Price comes back up to that $4 level, and we cannot fully hold that. We wick at that on the weekly time frame, get into this descending range, and a lot of people skepticize that we would be going back to the floor, but we did see that beautiful green wide bar out of that range, and then we see a little bit of a pause. We see a little bit of an ascending profile on these last few volume sticks on the weekly time frame. So great price action from the buyers, as this green wide bar engulfed 1, 2, 3, almost 4 candles on the weekly, but we engulf these 3, and we do get above that $324 level. All right, guys, so take you to the daily chart. We see textbook price action of a descending formation. So we descend and we find that support around that $260 level. And that's where we find that double bottom, right? On the weekly we were examining, we had that bottom there. We had that big price movement up, came back down, consolidated between that 5 and that 4 for a long time. And then we descend back to this floor. And that's where we find that bounce, guys. This floor is very well respected and a strong support zone. So we get out of that overall pullback zone and we find that big leg up all the way to 4. It doesn't take us long to get to that $4 level after breaking out. You see a big shift in momentum after we kind of squeeze up, but we see that nice green wide bar followed up by another very volatile green bar, kind of just ascend all the way to that $4 level. But AMC being AMC, as well as a lot of low cap stocks, guys, after big moves, they either continue to rise, making parabolic movements, or we see a retracement. And in this case, we got that retracement. We retrace that move, kind of mirroring this exact candle here, guys, and we descend. So we find a very narrow descending channel, as sellers are in the majority of control here, keeping us to the bottom of this range. But I try to break out, right, kind of a false breakout, wicking over that, but we gap down and get pushed down to the floor. But instead of finding this, descending support again, we find this 283 holding higher. So we don't come back down to the support. We find support at 283. We see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 candles of price action kind of holding right around that level. And then we see that break again. So we got the false breakout here, the false breakout there. And like we covered in the last video, guys, we finally found the real breakout. And we explained that it's definitely likely that we do get that full breakout if this isn't another false breakout. And that's exactly what we get. So we see a candle kind of barely closing over it. And we see another candle, guys, getting fully over that, closing very nicely over this narrow descending range. And then we get that gap up. So we gap over that $3 psychological level, and we continue our movement, close over that $324 level, and then sellers try to step in here, but they cannot find that full floor. So we're looking at a very nice movement out of that range, guys, and then we see price kind of hold tight around this range. So it's definitely likely that we consolidate, chop around maybe 1, 2 more days, continue our movement up to that 363, as well as this longer term resistance starting from that $5 level, right around that $5 psychological level. And AMC is definitely no stranger to these big volatile movements up and down. We see volume come in here, guys, as we ascend. See that giant spike aiding that nice movement. And as long as volume can continue to come in here, guys, and volatility can continue to be present, buyers are definitely looking nice to that $4 level, given how sharp of a sell-off that was. And after how strong buyers were looking, we see really an energy building phase as we get really, really tight between that 260 and that 280. And you just see, boom, price just explodes out of that range. And it really only takes 7 major candles to push us from that 280 level all the way to that 4, which is roughly a 40 to 50% movement. A lot of people thought we'd be getting to the floor, retesting that, either breaking lower or breaking up. But we are at pretty much all-time lows of AMC. If you look on the monthly, guys, this shows that this is really around all-time low territory. So if we did push lower of that bottom, we got that break of that bottom, really would be no telling where AMC would be going. Definitely wouldn't be good at all for the buyers, given we are extremely beat up already. We do find that support and we do find that break. So in the short term, looking very good, guys. Very good price action for AMC to reach that $4 level and possibly, finally break through this descending range that we've been in for some time. Now, taking you guys to the hourly, we see just how reactive AMC is. What do I mean by reactive? Now, when AMC gets to these certain support and resistance zones, it likes to react as we hold up nice just around that bottom. We try to get that leg back up. We hold nicely at this 280 support, come back down, and that's where you see, guys, sellers try to push us below this major support level, this strong support, as they try to over here, pushing us to that 245, and they try to once and twice more, and we kind of see an ascending profile. Each time they try to push us lower, they cannot push us any lower. We hold higher each time. And the last time they try to really push us through that range, guys, we see that buyers escape that range. We find this ascending support and we find that big leg up all the way to that $4 level. So that support was more or less getting tested as sellers were trying to test breaking us down. Buyers stepped in every single time they had to step in. And that's what led ultimately to that very nice move to that $4 level. We see something similar as we find this very narrow range. Since we did come up very, very fast, find this narrow range. We're descending, guys. And on the inverse, we see that buyers try to break out of that range, meeting with this support from that last breakout. Cannot do that. We come back down, and once again, buyers try to push out of this range. Cannot do that. We gap down. But like we covered on the daily, instead of coming back down to this ascending support, we find support, and we try to break out again for the third time, and we successfully break out. And we said in the last video, these ranges were similar given that, their attempt to break out, but we did note that this was the stronger attempt as we saw a nice green wide bar out of that. More indecision on these last couple of attempts out. We saw sellers try to push it lower, cannot fully get to around that resistance zone, and then we see a continued movement up. Sellers try to push us lower again. We find an ascending range that we are in, and we see that spike in volume aiding that gap up and that movement above that 324, and then we trend all the way up to that 339, and we kind of hold strong. Definitely not a lot of consolidation, you could say, within this zone. So if we can continue to hold that 324 as support, we'd definitely be looking at a leg up, reclaiming this 363 and past there. Definitely would be looking nice to retesting that $4 level. So guys, we can't deny that sharp sell-off and this narrow descending range, but the fact that we broke out of it after falsely breaking out 2 times, but we see a very nice break and a very nice gap up, definitely looking pro in that AMC is going to be headed to that $4 level. So definitely looking good here. In the short term, we are bullish. In the long term, AMC is still very indecisive and we are very, very beat up. But if we can continue to win these shorter term battles, definitely going to aid nice price action for the longer term holders. With that being said, let me know your price predictions for AMC in the comments below. Let me know your short term as well as your long term price predictions. If you guys want me to continue to cover AMC, make sure to like and subscribe. Stay patient with this one, trade smart, and I will see you all in the next one.